Hey there, this is TM. So today we are going to see the comeback story of one of India's largest corporate, Adani Group of companies. So what happened on January 24, 2023, a Hindenburg research firm. So this is a research firm which analyzes equity, credit, derivatives of multiple corporate companies. So it has a track record of finding corporate wrongdoings and placing the bets against the companies. So on January 24, it released a report that alleged Adani Group of companies. This Adani Group of companies improperly used tax havens and also flagged concerns about high debt levels of the company. So this Hindenburg's report released on January 24, 2023. After the report was released, there is a $115 billion meltdown in shares of Adani's publicly listed companies. So now you see the Adani's companies have made a massive comeback in market. So the question is, how did Adani come back even though after this historic downfall? So we are going to study the lessons and the business strategies that Adani used here to give this kind of comeback. So this study takes us back to 2020. After COVID, Adani's net worth surged from 20 billion to 140 billion in 2022 and made him the second richest man in the world. So we want to know the reason what made him the second richest man in the world. So if you look between this 2022 and 2023, the stock price of the company raised exponentially. The lowest performed stock in Adani list of companies is also appreciated by 98%. So this is because Adani Ports holds 94% of private port operating market in India. Adani Enterprises hold the title of India's largest coal trader. Adani Green Energy, it is one of the largest solar developer in the world. So Adani Total Gas operates the largest city gas distribution in India. Adani Power, it is the largest private thermal generation company in India. So while everyone fascinated by Adani's business, suddenly on January 24, 2023, Hindenburg report released with several obligations and allegations. After that news,
across the country were greeted with a large 100-page document from Hindenburg Research, in which it accused this empire of essentially stock manipulation and accounting fraud. There was an instant market reaction.
In Adani companies, we're looking at losses of north of $130 billion.
The last thing Modi wants is to be involved in any of this muck.
It's a very strongly worded allegation because it said it's the biggest con in India's corporate history. It wiped off more than $100 billion itself. One report and a few trading sessions has taken Gautam Adani from the top list of world's richest men.
A whole lot of debt. That seems to be a very big part of how they're trying to portray themselves as this very good corporate citizen, as the opposite basically of what Hindenburg had alleged.
in spite of this massive historic fall, how did Adani make this comeback? So to understand that, first we should know what are the allegations that put on Adani Group of companies by Hindenburg on its report. So these are the main key facts of report that released by Hindenburg. There are 7 listed companies of Adani Group are 85% overrated. A portion of promoter equity in Adani Group listed companies is pledged for loans, which is effectively leveraging the group to hit. So there is a family affair in Adani Group of companies, which is creating a ripe environment for unilateral and opaque financing decisions. So another one, the last one is Adani Group has repeatedly faced allegations of corruption, money laundering and theft of taxpayer funds.
Hindenburg said it had reviewed thousands of documents and conducted site visits to almost half a dozen countries. Hindenburg also disclosed that it had taken a short position in the Adani Group.
As a reporter, as anyone, that sort of grabs your attention. There are 2 main allegations made by Hindenburg, one of which is stock market manipulation, and the other one is accounting fraud. There were all of these offshore entities, a lot of which were registered in jurisdictions like Mauritius or Singapore.
So to understand what are the allegations that put on Adani Group of companies by Hindenburg Research Firm, we should understand some terms. So we will start with pledging. The report says that promoters' portion of shares pledged to get loans and used to again invested in other Adani companies, which seems risky as per Hindenburg. So first we'll understand what is pledging. So pledging of shares is a financial arrangement in which the promoters of the company pledge their shares as a collateral to secure a loan. To explain this in simple terms, there is a company called Tailor Enterprises, which have 3 million shares in the market, and the promoter holds 40% of the shares, which means total of 1.2 million shares. So assume that the stock price is around 600, with a total worth of 1.2 million into 600, the promoter holds 720 million rupees. That means 7.2 billion. So if promoter needs to improve the business, he can provide these shares as a collateral to any bank or financial institutions and get the money. So TL give 50 lakh shares as a collateral, which is worth 300 million, to the bank and get 250 million as a loan. So what's the risk here? Pledging the shares and invest in other companies, it's risky but limited. Risky doesn't mean it is totally wrong. So when the report is published that said Adani is listing the companies and pledging the shares, then again invest the amount that pledged in other Adani companies. So this is risky. We'll see why the pledging is risky in later. So then secondly, the report pointed current ratio of Adani Group, which seems also risky. So we first understand current ratio. This current ratio is a liquidity ratio that measures a company's ability to pay short-term obligations which is due within a year. So this current ratio compares current assets with the current liabilities. So current assets are the accounts receivable or any cash, that can turn into money within a year. So current liabilities means the debts that company needs to pay within a year. So this current ratio is calculated by current assets divided by current liabilities. So for example, if a company has total worth of $17 million and the liability of $25 million, so the ratio will be 3, which means the company has thrice the money that it has to pay as a debt in next year. The ratio under 1 seems risky, and the ratio which is equal to 1 is okay. The ratio which are greater than 1, it is really super. So on the report it is mentioned that Adani group of companies having less than 1 as a current ratio for 5 companies, which seems really risky. So we can see that Adani Green Energy, Adani Power, Adani Total Gas Transmission Enterprises has current ratio less than 1, which means company has a debt more than its money, its assets. Apart from these two, there are other several allegations which put on Adani group of companies by Hindenburg. So